Hey everyone, and thank you so much for tuning into Wowhead. We are here at Blizzcon interviewing some guys about art and production. Introduce yourselves, gentlemen.
So I'm John Height, and I am the production director.
I'm Chris Robinson, the art director.
Cool, and of course we have Perk here, and we're going to be asking some questions, and a lot of them are from you guys at home, so I hope that you guys enjoy this interview. Perk?
Awesome, so let's dive right in with the mini patch. So what is the ideal schedule with mini patches alternating with big patches? And is the plan to deliver these mini patches consistently while developing a new expansion at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, that's it? Yes.
No. So we wanted to make sure that 7.1, which is not a mini patch, it's actually more of a, it's not our largest patch, but it's definitely bigger than some of the things we've done in the past.
It's like between small and medium.
Yep, medium-sized patch. Wanted that right on the heels of releasing Legion, so that folks would know that we were serious about giving them content update and make the game interesting, keep them engaged. But 7.2 is a huge patch. It's one of the biggest ones we've ever done. So we want to make sure that we still had some goodies for people to keep them into the game and give them new stuff to do. So that's what came up with the idea of, hey, let's just start doing some mini patches. Let's not save everything up for 7.2 or the patches beyond it. So we're going to continue to do the mini patches in between every one of the major patches.
Yeah, I think people were also very excited to hear that this meant that if there was a patch and maybe something wasn't ready, that it wouldn't delay the whole patch because you guys have the mini patch.
Exactly right. And that's philosophically, that's usually what we've done. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we'll hold that till the next patch. It's like, no.
But I mean, now the next patch will be sooner, which is great.
Yep.
So, like we just said, mini patches will be sooner. We're going to be getting content a little more regularly. Is there any chance that we might see more of these smaller raids like Trial of Valor in the future?
Certainly some we're looking at. We've really doubled down on dungeons. So
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I'm surprised, but hopefully you'll notice now. So it's kind of a format that we like a lot. I think it's fun for players. It's easy to get in. It really, kind of shows you the dynamics of classes playing with each other. So we're going to continue to do dungeons for sure. In terms of raid sizes, we kind of experiment around with that. Tumor Garrus is a very large raid.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on it. If it's working and fans are responding well to it, certainly something we'll consider doing.
Yes. Following up on the Tomb, given the tease about Argus coming in a future patch at the end of Legion What's Next, can you say that Tomb will not be the final raid of Legion?
Can he?
That's very
Will
high.
he? Maybe. Yeah.
What can I say right now?
Let's just put it this way, that 7.2 is not going to be the final patch for Legion.
All right. That's fair. That's fair. So we have some questions for Chris about art.
Bring it on.
Questions.
Hotspot.
Nice.
Whoa,
This
are
is like
you-
the first time.
Are
that's
you
happened.
so excited? So with Legion, we got a lot of updated melee animations and stuff like that, and we were told there would be some new updating casting animations as opposed to not just like the spells themselves, but the casting itself. So like when though?
So we're working on it right now. The idea when we
Oh.
did the combat revamp, we were going to actually revamp everything all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we realized the scope as we started actually talking about like how much that entailed and how far that would put us out to actually being able to do it. And we felt like this was the right time to really introduce some amount of combat revamp animation.
Okay.
And then we, at a certain point, figured out that we could actually separate the two.
Yeah.
And that most combat animation revamp affects a lot of people, so it
Yeah.
really would give a fresh kind of new look at
Yeah.
to the game. So I can't really say exactly like this date is when we're going to introduce the
That's so
the casting
unlike
stuff.
Blizzard.
Yeah, I know. But we're definitely working on it right now, and it's looking, it's actually really cool because everything we learned from combat revamp, we're now applying to casting revamp and then plussing it with effects.
So as a caster, I feel like I'm gonna get a better animation.
Not
revamp.
for your stuff. We're not going to give you
Wow.
anything,
Ooh.
but we'll make it good
Thanks.
for everybody else.
It's really nice of you, Chris.
What class do you play?
I play a Resto Shaman.
Yeah, they need some more animations.
I play a
We
Resto
we
Shaman.
really haven't given shamans any love, in this.
Elemental enhancement, they're all like fire and ice and neon.
Yeah,
Whoa.
what's cool about that is actually like we're trying. So we always talk about like class fantasy and really doubling down on it. And combat revamp did a little bit of that, but I think the casting revamp really offers us the ability to look at like how all the casting classes are really different from each other, And we're using that to inform a lot of the new animations that we're doing, like for some of the elemental shaman stuff, we're really trying to get this vibe that you're pulling power like up out of the earth.
I mean, good for
Oh wow,
elemental
because like they already
shamans.
got a lot of like flashy
Yeah.
updates, so now they'll
Yep.
get even more.
Yeah.
updates.
You'll
So-
get love.
I'm teasing. I'm just waiting for the day that you finally fix shoulders with the selfie patch and female pandas.
Yeah?
It's been
That's-
like a very long time, guys, and my shoulder goes through my shoulder. That's weird.
Now that's never going to
It's a
happen.
weird thing to happen. So, that actually leads into models.
Yeah. So
Look at that.
Transition.
Transition.
So, what is your favorite new model or asset you designed for 7.2, and what was the most fun artifact weapon model to make for 7.2? Like,
Wow,
we
yeah.
found all them in the data, and there's like all these types,
Oh,
like
yeah.
fiery warglaives and like bear forms and neon cats. So.
Well, the bear form stuff for druids, I think, was a big deal.
yeah,
'cause
you
that
guys
really
hit it
helped-
on us. It's not in our calculator. Everything else is.
And well, we so often want to help druids out, and it's been a question that's come up all the time, like when are you going to do stuff for us, and we're going to revamp those models. So that was awesome. And I think being able to use artifacts to really double down on the fantasy behind druids was a great place to do that. You're asking specifically about 7.2 though, right?
Yeah, like all the new models. What was the coolest thing?
This is just
artifact
personal
coming?
favorite.
Yeah,
thing.
anything.
You can't screw this up.
Yeah.
It could be
nice.
like a Pepe disguise or something small.
Is it a Pepe disguise?
What do you think about the Peppy disguises? Are you
Oh,
stoked
we
about
love them.
those?
Oh, we love
Oh,
them.
could you tell? Like,
Yeah.
Pepe in real life is
Yeah.
disguised.
Going through and doing, so when we knew we were going to be doing Legion invasions and revisiting the Legion, and we always thought about it coming from Burning Crusade as that was sort of like the B squad, and we thought at the time it was A squad, and it couldn't get any bigger, but we wanted to reintroduce the idea, like now you're really seeing Legion at its worst,
Yeah.
or at its best in that case. So revamping all and taking a look at that lineup of demons, and we talked a lot about like Moarg and Ganarg and like that, the machinery aspect of
Yeah.
it. And if you remember Burning Crusade, they were way more kind of like machine focused. They're building war machines. The Ganarg and the Moarg are working together to kind of like build these little encampments for destruction. And we felt like, we wanted to get away from that, the idea that they're more machinery based, and get more into like that magical kind of element and like
Yeah.
the casting element. So when we took a look at all those models, we kind of used that as a catalyst for how we were going to re-envision doing this, the demon lineup. And so for me, that was like that experience of going through and talking to design and kind of revamping that entire lineup was probably one of the most rewarding things that we did.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a really high impact moment when you finally just see all of them at the broken shore, and it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, that is very.
Totally. And so artifacts, you asked about artifacts. I think it's hard to single out any one specific because they were all so imaginative and awesome to work on. But what was really awesome is knowing up front that we were going to focus on artifact weapons for every class. And so we kind of did away with that whole slew of 250 some odd weapons that we build for the level of experience in favor of, honing in on what that class fantasy is.
Yeah.
And that was that whole, everything that we did, all those conversations, that iteration process was really rewarding.
Nice.
So this isn't written down here, but we were talking about druid forms, and I know a couple
Okay, go
people have asked if there are any plans to maybe have an artifact appearance in the future that will change Moonkin form.
Oh, nice.
Because people were extremely upset
Yeah,
that
they're like,
chickens
oh,
got
like
no
everyone
love.
else is like updated.
Yeah,
bear,
like
cat.
I know we got
cat,
the
yeah.
HD Boomkin form, but people were really hoping that they could be some sort of fancy artifact chicken.
Artifact chicken, is
Yeah.
that what we're calling
It
it
could be
now?
like they could be a magic
mean-
booster maybe.
TM.
Could be a giant
yeah,
Pepe.
nice.
Pepe the Boomkin.
Nothing that I could say specifically, but that's something that we're always, taking into consideration.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so what about class mounts? This is something a lot of people are really excited about.
Yeah, we are too. Man.
What do you think the most challenging class mount was to design, and what kind of visual influences did you pull from in designing them for each class?
So we actually had a lot of trouble with the rogue, and probably it's because I play a rogue and I was super picky about what
Wow.
that ended up being.
Wow, favoritism. I see.
But we had,
He drinks a lot of Old Crow, so
Yeah, exactly. The cool thing about that process is that we wanted to make sure that the artist working on the class mount had a connection to it. So typically we would go through a process of just figuring out all the mounts that we wanted to make, and then we would dole them out kind of evenly amongst the character art team. This time around, because we knew we were doing very class-focused mounts, we actually talked to everyone on the character team and found out what class they play and what they were passionate about, and then had them do a
that's really
concept
cool.
from their
Yeah,
perspective.
That's really, really cool.
So it was very much not a top-down, hey, we know we want to do these exact mounts for all these classes. We really just let them go and do like 3 or 4 concepts and just think what would be cool for you and from your perspective. We had initially done the rogue mount, that crow mount on the Onzo rig,
Oh.
You know, that kind of like
Which is, yeah.
Yeah, but that's more
Oh, yeah.
druid because like Enzu was the druid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't fit, and
Yeah.
and I think we reused that to the point where you immediately just kind of know where it's from, and
Yeah.
it felt more like a color shift
Yeah,
than like
right.
a really. So we went back to the drawing board like 3 times on that to get something that we felt was really unique and captured that kind of fantasy.
They're all super cool.
Yeah.
They are all super, super cool.
I had a follow-up question about that. So Ian on Twitter clarified that some mounts will change their tints based on spec, like Shadow and Arcane. And are there any others you can tell us about? Because everyone at first thought that like every spec was going to get a uniquely colored mount. And he's like, oh no, it's just some of them that make sense.
Oh, yeah.
And will there be other ways that people can like further change the color or customize their class mounts once you get them outside of spec?
I think there probably will be. Nothing that
Whoa.
nothing that I know about exactly,
Yeah.
right? But
Okay.
to give you some insight into that process, when we do new models, we always do color variations. Even if we never use them, they're always
Yeah,
there.
like
so that in
the
the future,
tier sets, there's always the one
totally.
with color.
So they exist, and if they exist, that typically means that design will find a reason to
Yeah,
bring them
yeah.
in. I don't know what that will be, or if it is going to happen, but I
Especially
assume
with stuff like
that-
World Quest and stuff, it's so easy
Yeah.
to just like
Yeah.
be like, oh, here's a new reward.
Totally. And I hope it. I mean, because I want the same thing, right? So I hope that we end up doing that.
I love hearing about it when you guys are like, oh, well, we're players and we play this class,
Yeah.
so we all wanted this thing because we're all rogues.
Yeah.
Or we're all shaman or whatever. So in the past couple of years, we've seen rather a lot of updated character models. Obviously, all the vanilla models as well as like Blood Elves and Draenei and Worgen and Goblin are on that
Really
borderline
popular
of
user question.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a hugely popular use. I think it's because goblins are the best class
Yeah.
ever. Like, or the best race ever, rather.
Yeah.
Like, they're just hilarious.
Yeah.
So, is there any plans for like Goblin and Worgen model updates? And if so, can you give us like within the next couple of years, or are we looking at like a decade? Is this going to be for the 25th anniversary of WoW?
Right.
Like-
Yeah.
That's pretty quick. I don't know.
Yeah, the difficulty there, and once again, I think this is, I don't want to give the non-answer, and I can't give you a specific date or say that definitively we're going to do it. It's on that big list of stuff, and what ended up happening, just to give you the background, was the Worgen and Goblin were actually the visual bar when we started out on the player character revamp. So they were just the newest models we had done. They had the most, bone count from an animation perspective, and the highest fidelity textures. And we started actually pulling off the face from the core base texture and moved it onto a new page so you could have a higher resolution
Oh
face.
my god, goblins being the base for beauty.
So yeah,
He didn't say beauty.
so what ended up happening was, as usual, when we were developing through that cycle, we got to a point where we hit that bar, but we had already progressed in terms of how many bones we can put into characters and what our memory was, and so we were able to push it past where we were at with the goblin. And so we kind of had that.
Sub-race is confirmed.
We had that moment of like, do we now kind of dumb everything down, knowing that we could go a little bit farther, or do we just take that hit and go, we know we're going to surpass the Goblin and the Worgen, they're going to be in this kind of weird valley between original characters and revamp characters. So it is absolutely something that we're conscious of and very sensitive to, and something that we want to. I feel like we need to address at some point. It's just that juggling game of do you sacrifice all of these things to accomplish those two things? And I know all the people who play Goblin and Worgen are like, yes, you do, and you should do it next week.
Yeah, you don't want like that RIP raid tier thing, like, oh, but we got new goblins.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and it's not that those are one-to-one by any means, and it's hard to come up with that exact one-to-one example, but yeah, very conscious of it. Just don't know exactly when we're going to be able to address it.
Yeah. So along those same lines, like soon after Goblins and Worgens came out in Cataclysm, there was this big revamp with hairstyles at the barbershop, and like everyone got new hairstyles. I think some people got more tints, and we haven't really had any new hairstyles for a while. Like, is there more plans to add some in the future? This was
Or
another
like a
popular
color wheel.
question.
Or
yeah,
color
like,
wheel.
Color wheel would be great.
Why would you want that? I don't
It's like
understand.
weird how in real life I can have more colors
Yeah.
of hair than I can in the game.
Yeah. There actually are plans, and it's going to be done in a really awesome way that we're going to be talking about soon, but not right now.
Ah, okay, that's fair. That's all I need.
Yeah, you're very excited.
We're done here. Pack it up, boys.
Sorry, and just to be clear, the coloring thing is different, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
the style
Right.
thing is certainly something that we're going to be
Gosh
addressing.
darn it!
Awesome.
I was so excited there. For
We
a
got some
second.
more serious rewards.
So all right.
Yeah.
We're done with you, Chris.
Okay,
You
thank
For
you.
now.
You can go now.
Yeah.
So, are there any upcoming plans to improve the process of acquiring legendaries? So, like someone like me, for instance, I have twice the amount of playtime as Mr. Cameraman over there, and he's gotten 2 and I've gotten 0. And then there are also some people who keep getting legendaries for their wrong spec, and there's no way to set spec for that. So is there any plans to make that a little more? I'm not saying hand them out.
Yeah, like
but
we keep hearing that it's coming and it's soon, but is it soon TM or like
Well,
soon?
actually, with 7.1, we did adjust the probability of legendaries dropping, so you may have noticed
I
that-
committed a sin in a past life.
that people were getting more legendaries when 7.1 came out. And so that's something we'll keep an eye on. We want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to get one. Should be special though, right? Should be that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You weren't counting
So
on
we're
it. You didn't know it was
still
going to happen.
We're not getting to the point soon. Like they've teased like, oh, like maybe you could like farm the one you want, or like as the expansion gets on, there'd be like more targeted ways to get them. But we're not at that point.
It's not really
yet.
a goal. I
Okay.
mean, I think we still kind of like the philosophy that legendaries are something that you have a special story behind when you got it. It was this random thing that just
Yeah.
happened, and because you have a lot of opportunities to do targeted gear. I mean, especially with Mythic, Keystone
yeah.
Dungeons, you're going to be able to farm,
Oh, yeah.
every piece that you want. So.
All right.
Will those levels be updated after a while? Like right now?
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
capped at 10,
basically
right?
when 7.2 comes out, gear levels go up. We can go back now with our new itemization system, and we can bump the gear levels on existing
Oh,
drops.
cool.
So.
Yeah. Cool. So, more 7.1.5 stuff. What sort of rewards are from mini holidays besides Hippogriff Pepe? And how frequently should players expect to find these mini holidays? Like, is
So
it
they're
like
not-
one a month or more?
Yeah, they're not. I mean, it isn't a criterion that every mini holiday needs to have some kind of reward. Some of them have no reward. It's just
the
for the
guard
joy.
One, right? The guard one,
Yeah.
you just hang out as
Yeah,
a
it's
guard.
just for the joy of doing it. And a lot of them just come from the team themselves. It's kind of a creative way for them to sort of express themselves and put something into the game. We don't want it to evolve into a lot of development time goes into just these things. Kind of like that sort of freedom to just create stuff. So some of them probably will. But it won't be a large number. We don't want to have everyone feeling like now they have to go and do every single micro holiday.
Yeah, like the weekly micro holiday.
There won't be an Uber achievement for going through and
Oh
doing
wow.
all of them. So.
It's a long, final proto Drake.
That would be a lot. So this kind of touches back to when we were talking about a minute ago, like dungeons and how everything's going to get better with time. With time, will we see the current world bosses having their loot scaled up as well to keep them relevant into patches in the future?
World bosses, yeah. And with dungeons, yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we want to make sure, especially the dungeons, we want to make sure that they stay relevant. We don't want to leave them behind. Some of our best content, and we want to, as we add more to Legion, we want to make sure that people have a variety of dungeons to do.
All right. So this next one, I guess, is for kind of both of you. Brawlers Guild. So people are really excited to see that back. And has there been anything designed that's like really cool that you want to share with us about Brawlers Guild? Like any awesome, shirts, or what do you think is the most fun out there boss?
I think that just having raid bosses show up is going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Because if you're already familiar with that boss, it'll be kind
Yeah.
of neat to see him in this context. And if
Yeah.
you're not, I guess it's going to be an interesting surprise for you and get you ready for the raid.
Yeah. So like any boss that looks like crazy visually, or
I'm sure they all will be.
okay.
Yeah.
Brawlers Guild is
Yeah, like there's like the dinosaur with the undead and the
yeah,
rockets.
it's kind of my worst nightmare, to be honest with you. Because that's kind of where we take the shackles off and we just go like, just have fun. And, because we really care about the art that goes into the world and everything that we do. We want to make sure that we're not jumping the shark and putting ridiculous stuff in when we need to set, because there's tones in WoW, right? And there's times for brevity and there's times for, levity, there's times
There's
for...
times for fish offhand.
Times to fish offhand,
Yeah.
and then there's times where it's legions invading, and you got to. It's pretty serious, right? So, I think the Brawlers Guild is kind of a pressure release valve for the design team just to be able to go and like. I've always had this idea that's really cool, and it's maybe a little bit too goofy to put in the real world, and so we kind of stay a little hands off. And by doing that, like the shark thing you're talking about, we didn't actually build that on an art side, right? That was like design pancake stacking models on top of each other and kind of building their own creature. And when I see that stuff, I kind of have to.
So it's like a Frankenshark.
It's like Frankenshark.
That's amazing.
Like just let it go and let it be what it is. So I'm sure there will be. It's just we didn't design it, so like I'm almost kind of waiting to see too. Like
Yeah, one
Well,
of
that's
the
fun, though.
first
Yeah.
criterion for anybody designing anything for Brawlers Guild is how upset can we make Chris?
yeah.
That's my goal in interviews as well.
Clearly.
So,
No
so
yawns yet though.
I'm
You got to
with
work
you.
on that.
So we were kind of talking about mounts, so this sort of ties in, and mount collectors are like so excited about class mounts. And we were kind of wondering, is there anything for other types of collectors? Like maybe some new battle pets that have totally new models coming up.
Muffinus
or
was like, please someone ask this.
please someone
We
ask
are.
this. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
So pets
pets.
are pretty awesome in the sense that typically how this happens is an artist on the team just has an idea for a cool pet, and they have some time and they'll just build something and go, hey, I made this cool robot thing. Do you want to use it for anything? So we have kind of like a library of those stacked up that are waiting in line to be used at some point. Meaning,
vault of
I'm sure
unused
that
pets.
I'm sure there will be, but it's not like this. We don't have like the big revamp kind of. Oh yeah, and it's
I have a
coming
lot
in
of
2
pets.
months type of thing.
Okay.
I'm very excited about this personally.
All right, so we've got a detailed transmog question here. Okay, so why
I have
do
a
some
follow-up for this too
okay.
already.
All right. Okay. So why do some belt models cut off the bottom of the tabard while others do not? There are Legion belt models, for example. There is a Legion leather belt that has a 3D model that shows the bottom of the tabard, but when you use the same belt but a recolor, it cuts off the bottom of the tabard.
That sounds like a bug.
Okay.
Oh!
That doesn't
Alright.
sound like it's working as intended. And
You need to submit that as a bug.
I didn't know you guys admitted those types
Okay.
of things.
Well, we actually don't have any bugs, but occasionally, for a moment, one will appear.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we get it right away.
Would that ever be like an option where you could maybe cut off the bottom of your tabard like with the transmog the transmogrificator?
Like
Would
the
you ever be
Scarlet
able to
Crusade
choose
tabard?
like
Like you have the half one?
like so, you only see the top half
like
of
a no
it.
skirt part?
Like a tank top.
Like you're tucking in your tab.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're tucking
Right.
it in. That's right. It wouldn't give a weird bulge. It's magic.
I think we could probably do that.
That'd be cool.
It's not a
Yeah.
plan right now, but it's something we could consider for
It'd
sure.
be really, really cool. And also on the realm of transmog, and this wasn't a user submitted question, but something that just
Okay.
bothered me for a long time. So like there are some things in game, like you mentioned the fish offhand that you can transmog, or there's a lot of silly things. But then like there's this line that's been drawn of like, nope, that's too ridiculous, or there's some other unknown reason, like the witch hat during Hollow's End, like
That-
you couldn't transmog
Oh, yeah, the
that.
witch hat.
That's not because it's ridiculous. That's
Well, I hope not, because
Okay.
that's an awesome hat.
Totally.
But where do you guys, how do you make those decisions of like, this can be transmogged and this
And
cannot?
why is the witch hat?
Or like the
not
bunny
cosmetic?
ears, or the Forever Lovely Rose, or the Vile Fumigator's Mask. But then like another holiday item, like the halo from Midsummer, that's transmoggable.
Is it the halo only from Midsummer, or can you get the halo in other areas?
You can only get that
Yeah.
halo from Midsummer, and if you get it from other areas, it's a different color, it's a different transparency, and it's only
Okay.
cloth.
so that's another bug. We got to fix that.
That I mean,
Yeah.
well, because let's
There's
talk
a
about
palette
let's talk
one's
about the
for
witch hat.
witches.
That's a great example, right?
I love the witch hats.
And it's cool, and it's
And
not.
there's the cloth model from Karazhan that you can transmog.
And in no way do we feel like, I mean, we wouldn't put it in if we felt like it was ridiculous, but it's a holiday-based item, right? So I think the interesting thing is the hit
Please.
between the halo and the hat. I feel like those should probably work the same way. I
Thank
don't know.
you.
I don't know why they don't, right?
Like, I'm gonna start a change.org petition.
Yeah, because
Well,
the same model is used for the Wicked Witch Hat in Karazhan. So
Yeah.
cloth users can transmog one of the colors, so it's like, why is that?
I mean, we
Well-
did kind of identify that holiday items would be for holidays.
Okay.
If you
Except
transmog,
midsummer.
you wear it all the time.
Apparently, but that's the thing, right? Is like if you can transmog everything you get out of a holiday, what's the point in going and doing a holiday?
See, I would argue the opposite though, because if you can't transmog it and you can't show off that you have it, what's the point of getting it?
It, like,
So that
it
during the
helps
holiday you
influence
can run around
collectors.
with
They can check off their tick box in their, appearance tab.
But like, when are you gonna do that? Because there's like PvP and stuff in Dowler, and you can't just like hang out. Like, there at any time something could happen, so you can't just. There's never unless you're like on an RP server. There's never a time that it makes sense for like me as a shaman to walk around with a statless hat.
Then you should join an RP server.
I guess so. This sounds like a Panzer problem.
Well, when you get that legendary, you'll be willing to give up the fact that you don't have
I don't
stats
think
on your
so.
hat.
You don't know me very well. So you want to talk a little bit about professions?
Yeah,
Bert?
so we didn't hear about professions at the panel yesterday, and we're just curious if there's any quality of life updates in store, especially for fishing, because that was pretty wild at launch with the artifact, and a lot of people were like, oh, it's going to be like another fishing skin, or like more savory deviant delights, or any sort of fun.
Definitely
awesome
going to be
profession
some
stuff.
recipes. So
Okay. Well,
professions.
Nomi burned food less in 7.1.5.
He's the worst cook in the world.
He's the
What is,
worst.
why is, we need to talk to like Dave Kosak, like what is up
his
with this story?
deal?
Like why did he get bad
It's,
at
like,
cooking?
it's actually
You can edit this part. There's totally a panel today that will talk about professions.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
it's actually Paul Cubitt. He's our professions guy.
All right. Sorry, Dave.
And there is a fishing artifact thingy in there.
I sort
and
of
Nomi may be in there too.
heard through a little birdie about that. Not Pepe, different birdie. But yeah, we're excited to hear more about professions for sure. And we kind of have like one more question for you that both of you I would like to answer if that's okay. And when we see things that's like crossover content, like things like Varian or Ragnaros in Heroes of the Storm, or things like the whole Karazhan thing in Hearthstone, and then Karazhan, and we've heard now about Gadgetzan. Like, how much communication is there between teams when you're making these design choices in other games?
That's a good question. We most of the time it's stuff that we discuss, and it's like, collectively, yeah, this would be cool to do this. Sometimes a team, like Hearthstone team will be, man, we really want to go to Karazhan, we think it'd be cool. And well, as it just so happens, we're planning on doing, this whole,
What a coincidence.
Karazhan thing. So that wasn't premeditated. I mean, it was literally popped up independently.
Oh, that really was a coincidence?
But
That was a very good
but,
coincidence.
but around the same time.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
It could have easily been if they'd said, hey, we want to do this thing, but we weren't going to do our Karazhan for another year, we might have had a dialogue about, well, can you wait, make that,
Yeah.
around that time. But it just so happened that we independently came up with the idea about the same time.
Yeah, that people really
But
like that.
Heroes of the Storm, we do a lot of coordination with, when they want to put in a new hero. Like in the case of Varian, we want to make sure that they were using the Varian that appears in the cinematic. So that model is the one that's in the game.
Yeah.
Bill Ragnar is very good.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
What about and this is again, I'm going off script here, people. So I don't play much Hearthstone because I'm trash at those type of games. Like, it's better for the community that I stay away. But me and Streets of Gadgetzan looks awesome. It reminds me of a very speakeasy, mafia run,
totally.
vintage era of things. And our Gadgetzan is kind of empty in the middle of nowhere and surrounded by nothing.
Yeah.
Would you guys consider using something like that as an opportunity to maybe expand upon the World of Warcraft Gadgetzan?
I think we'd consider it if it and you asked in the previous question about the communication between groups, and I think, we always want to try to be creative and allow creativity to happen with other games, because ultimately we're making fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to be limiting and saying well, Gadgetzan is the very serious place in World of Warcraft, so you can't make it fun in your game. So anytime that opportunity arises to answer your current question, where we can use and get inspiration from other games to pull it into the world, and it makes sense from a story perspective to do that, absolutely we would do it, right? Then it's a question of does the speakeasy, very era-specific stuff fit into World of Warcraft?
Yes.
Maybe in some areas it does.
And it would be such a good opportunity to do your Goblin and your Worgen
Hey, there you go.
Exactly.
because it's all
Yes.
Goblins and
Yes.
Worgens,
Yeah.
and you do the new city.
Good idea.
This could be when you're like, oh, World Quest in Azeroth. Plus, we revamped Gadgetzan. You get to wear flapper dresses.
And that's why there's a feat of strength.
So I'm so sorry, we're totally at time.
Yeah,
Okay,
so are we.
yes.
We're
Okay,
out of
awesome.
questions.
I
Nice.
was sure
Vanessa did
So-
not like that idea.
Yeah.
No, I do.
I mean, you were just about to sell us on it, and she just
Ugh.
cut it short.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Thank you for answering
Thank
all
you
of our
guys.
ridiculous questions.
Yeah,
I
those
really
were great.
appreciate
Those
it.
were
That's great. Thank you.
We will see you guys soon. Make sure you check out Wowhead for all of the most up to date BlizzCon information. We will see you soon, guys. Goodbye. Bye. Sync in the audio.
Oh, I thought we were gone.
I mean, you can. But I usually make.
He's a total lemon.
That's totally fine.
Clapping is happening.
You're doing a great job. You're really helping. Thank you. I'm putting this at the end, so you guys are gonna look silly, just clapping.
You think that's the only thing that's going to make us look silly?
Yeah. I guess if that's all that
It's
makes
only
you
downhill from here.
Goals.